Aso Rock. The name itself evokes a sense of awe, of power. It is more than just a presidential villa. It is a symbol of Nigeria's aspirations, its struggles, its triumphs, and its failures. As one drives through the imposing gates, past the stern-faced guards, a palpable aura descends. It is the weight of history, the burden of expectation, and something more, something ancient, something primal. My time at Aso Rock was a tumultuous period in Nigeria's history. As the special advisor on media and publicity to President Goodluck Jonathan, I had a front-row seat to the inner workings of power. I witnessed firsthand the complexities of governing a nation as diverse and challenging as Nigeria, but I also witnessed something else, something that transcended the realm of the political and ventured into the realm of the spiritual. Aso Rock, for all its grandeur and majesty, is a place of secrets. Whispers of strange occurrences, of unexplained phenomena have always circulated within its walls. These stories, often dismissed as the ramblings of the superstitious, took on a chilling reality during my time there. I began to experience things that defied logical explanation. Doors would slam shut without a breeze, footsteps echoed in empty corridors, shadows danced in the periphery of my vision. At first I dismissed these incidents as tricks of the mind, the product of stress and overwork, but as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, I could no longer ignore the growing unease that gnawed at me. There was something amiss at Aso Rock, something insidious that lurked beneath the surface of everyday life. The staff at Aso Rock, drawn from all corners of Nigeria, had their own tales to tell. Stories whispered in hushed tones, passed down from one administration to the next. Tales of sudden illnesses, of inexplicable accidents, of people driven to the brink of madness. A palpable fear hung in the air, a shared understanding that some things were best left unspoken. One incident in particular stands out in my memory. It was a stormy night, the wind howling like a banshee outside. I was working late, as was my custom, when I heard a blood-curdling scream. It seemed to come from the direction of the residential quarters. Grabbing a flashlight, I rushed out of my office, my heart pounding in my chest. As I made my way down the deserted corridor, the hair on the back of my neck stood on end. The air grew heavy, thick with a sense of unseen menace. The scream came again, closer this time, filled with a raw terror that sent shivers down my spine. I rounded a corner and came face to face with one of the president's aides. His eyes wide with fear, his face ashen. "What happened?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The aide just shook his head, unable to speak. He pointed a trembling finger down the corridor. I followed his gaze and saw a sight that chilled me to the bone. The door to the president's private study was wide open, papers scattered across the floor. And standing in the middle of the room, bathed in an eerie green light, was a figure. It was tall and gaunt, its features obscured by the shadows. But even in the dim light I could sense the malevolence that radiated from it. The figure turned its head slowly, its eyes, two glowing embers, fixing on me. A wave of cold terror washed over me, paralyzing me where I stood. I wanted to scream, to run, but I couldn't move. It was as if an unseen force held me captive. The aide, his voice hoarse with fear, whispered, "It's the Jagaban, the Jagaban," a legendary spirit said to be a protector of the Yoruba people, but also a fearsome entity capable of great wrath. What was it doing in Aso Rock, and what did it want? The figure took a step towards us, and the air grew heavy, oppressive. I could feel a presence, cold and alien, pressing down on me, suffocating me. My vision blurred, and the last thing I remember was the feeling of falling into an abyss of darkness. When I awoke, I was in my own bed, a splitting headache throbbing behind my eyes. The events of the previous night came back to me in a rush, sending a shiver down my spine. Had it all been a dream, a hallucination brought on by stress? I wanted to believe that it had been, but deep down I knew better. I soon discovered that I was not alone in my experiences. Other members of the president's staff had witnessed strange occurrences, heard unexplained noises. Some had even reported seeing shadowy figures lurking in the corridors at night, but fear kept most people silent. There were those, of course, who dismissed our stories as nonsense. They attributed the strange happenings to overactive imaginations, to the stresses of working in such a high-pressure environment. Femi Adesina, my successor as special advisor on media and publicity, was one of the most vocal skeptics. He publicly ridiculed my claims, dismissing them as the ramblings of a superstitious mind. But I knew the truth. I had seen it with my own eyes. Aso Rock was not just a place of power, it was a place of secrets, a place where the veil between the physical and the spiritual was thin, and something dark and ancient lurked beneath its surface. The question that haunted me, that haunted us all, was why? Why was Aso Rock, the seat of power in Africa's most populous nation, seemingly plagued by supernatural forces? What did these entities want? And how did their presence affect the decisions made within those walls? Some whispered that the spirits were drawn to the power that resided in Aso Rock, that they fed off the ambitions and desires of those who walked its corridors. Others believed that they were guardians of the land, protectors of Nigeria's destiny, and that they intervened in human affairs only when the nation's fate hung in the balance. Whatever the reason for their presence, there was no denying that these unseen forces had an impact on the lives of those who worked at Aso Rock. Relationships were strained, careers were derailed, and some even paid the ultimate price. The pressure, both physical and psychological, was immense, and it took its toll on even the strongest of wills. I began to notice a change in President Jonathan himself. He seemed withdrawn, preoccupied, his once jovial demeanor replaced by a somberness that was unsettling. He confided in me that he too had experienced strange occurrences, heard voices whispering his name in the dead of night. The president, a devout Christian, turned to prayer for solace. He consulted with religious leaders seeking guidance and protection, but the strange occurrences continued and a sense of foreboding settled over Aso Rock. It was as if a dark cloud had descended upon the seat of power, casting a long shadow over the nation itself.